Okay, be honest. When's the last time you had an important deadline and somehow ended up cleaning your room, reorganizing your bookshelf, or watching videos about productivity instead of actually working? Yeah, we've all done it. Here's the strange part. Procrastinating doesn't even feel good while you're doing it. You know the task is still waiting, you know the guilt is building, yet somehow starting feels harder than avoiding it. Most people call this laziness. Psychologists call it something very different. And once you understand what's really happening inside your brain, procrastination starts making a lot more sense and becomes much easier to beat. The truth about procrastination. Here's what most people get wrong. Procrastination isn't a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. When a task makes you feel anxious, overwhelmed, uncertain, or afraid of failing, your brain looks for the fastest way to feel better. Not to solve the problem, just to escape the uncomfortable feeling. So instead of working on your report, you answer emails, you clean your kitchen, you scroll social media for 5 minutes. Your brain rewards that escape with a tiny hit of relief. And here's the dangerous part. Every time you avoid the task, your brain quietly learns. Avoiding discomfort works. That's why procrastination becomes a habit. You're not addicted to wasting time. You're addicted to escaping uncomfortable emotions. Two types of procrastination. Most people think procrastination looks like doing nothing, but psychology says there are actually two common versions. Type 1, productive procrastination. This one is incredibly sneaky. You stay busy all day. You answer emails, organize your desk, fold laundry, reply to messages, maybe even walk the dog twice. By the end of the day, you've worked hard, but the one task that actually mattered, still untouched. It feels productive, because technically you were productive, just not on the thing that counted. Type 2, the overwhelm trap. This one starts with good intentions. You create the perfect to-do list, exercise, learn Spanish, launch a side business, read a book, meal prep, meditate, finish your project, all before Thursday. Your brain takes one look at that list and quietly says, absolutely not. This happens because our brains naturally prefer small, achievable wins over giant, uncertain challenges. The bigger the mountain looks, the less likely we are to take the first step. So how do you break the cycle? There isn't a magic productivity hack, but psychology gives us a few tricks that work surprisingly well. And tip 4 is the one that changes the game. Tip 1, name the emotion, not the task. Instead of asking, why can't I start? Ask, what emotion am I trying to avoid? Fear of failing? Fear it won't be perfect? Fear you'll realize you're not as good as you hoped? Sometimes the task isn't the problem. The emotion attached to it is. The moment you identify the emotion, it loses some of its power. You can't solve a problem you refuse to name. Tip 2, borrow momentum from existing habits. Motivation is unreliable. Habits aren't. Instead of relying on willpower every day, attach your new behavior to something you already do automatically. For example, right after brushing your teeth, write for 5 minutes. After making your morning coffee, study for 10 minutes. Psychologists call this habit stacking. Your brain already knows how to perform the first habit. You're simply letting it pull the second one along. Tip 3, change your identity before your actions. Here's something fascinating. Your brain pays attention to signals. If you're wearing pajamas at 2 p.m., your brain gets the message. This is still relaxation time. But when you put on workout clothes or sit at your workspace dressed for the day, your brain starts preparing for that role. It's called embodied cognition. Your body influences your mind more than most people realize. Sometimes changing your clothes is enough to change your behavior. Tip 4, make the goal almost too easy. This is the strategy psychologists often recommend because it works with your brain, not against it. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to study for 2 hours. Tell yourself, I'm going to study for just 2 minutes. Not because 2 minutes is enough, but because starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, your brain experiences a small success. That success creates momentum, and momentum is far more powerful than motivation. Tiny victories change your identity. You stop thinking, I'm someone who procrastinates, and start thinking, I'm someone who begins. That shift changes everything. Tip 5, trick your brain into feeling urgency. Your brain treats vague deadlines like suggestions. I'll do it this week. I'll get to it later. Those aren't deadlines. They're wishes. Instead, create a specific deadline. Thursday, 12 p.m., no exceptions.
This works because our brains value immediate consequences much more than distant ones, a psychological bias called present bias. The closer and more concrete the deadline feels, the more your brain treats it as important. One more thing.
Don't confuse procrastination with rest. They're not the same. Rest gives you energy. Procrastination drains it. After real rest, you usually feel refreshed. After procrastination, you usually feel guilty. Learning the difference might be one of the healthiest skills you'll ever develop. So here's something to remember. Every time you procrastinate, you're teaching your brain that avoiding discomfort is rewarding. But every single time you start, even for 1 minute, you're teaching it the opposite. And those tiny lessons shape who you become. So tell me, what's the one thing you've been avoiding this week? Not a bunch of stuff, the actual thing. Write it in the comments. Sometimes the first step toward finishing something is simply admitting what you've been avoiding. And if this video helped you understand your brain a little better, subscribe for more psychology explained in simple, practical ways. Because understanding yourself is the first step toward changing yourself.